What would happen if all of Reddit showed up at the Suez Canal with plastic toy shovels and offered to help? It would make the fire festival seem like a well-organized community picnic. Somehow we would make it even worse. Then we would pat ourselves on the back for a job well done and get mad at anyone who points out otherwise. Then 5 years later a bunch of Redditors will be disgusted at our actions and then act like they're better than that. Let's assume all 430 mil Redditors lined up and took one scoop with their toy shovel. Let's assume each Redditor moves through in 1 sec. Let's assume one toy shovel scoop is roughly 8 ounces. It would take 430 mil Redditors 13.65 years to move 13,437.5 tons of material. Well, there would be no logistic support to support a crowd this size. It would be another international crisis as millions of people start dying of dehydration because the local supplies can't support it. Bathrooms aren't there either. Just so it's clear, scientists do not recommend doing so. A horde of dumbasses with toys would block legitimate work to correct a disaster. Half of us would be shoveling sand to free the boat, the other half would be shoveling it back in. Maybe if we all just went swimming it would displace enough water to lift the ship. Someone would Photoshop dragons fucking container ships. Adorable porn would have camhors rolling around in the sand. Our Wall Street bets would do high-speed trading based on whether the ship budged, and our DIY would get it done late and over budget. We would outnumber the amount of people who actually live in Egypt. So I guess chaos, mass hysteria? Or it could be the start of a beautiful international collaboration. Could go either way. Really. Instructions unclear. Canal now blocked by giant sand castle. Manpower probably isn't the problem, and sending a lot of internet people isn't going to help. Maybe if we attach a strong rope and try to pull it loose with 1 million people. Or maybe Elon can promote some kind of prototype Mars digger on Twitter and call the people who are actually helping pedos. Nah. It's like a clogged toilet. You want to unclog a toilet. You light an M80 and stick flush it. The canal's like a really big toilet, so we need America to launch a nuke to unclog it. Disclaimer. I am not a licensed plumber. Use advice at your own risk. I'd get told to leave the area by many mods. I'd take a few steps over to a different area and get a shitload of high fives. There'd be a massive plastic shovel war and then everyone would go home, having totally forgotten why we were there in the first place. The boat wouldn't have moved an inch. It would be an embarrassment, but at least we did it. Reddit. Everyone take one scoop and go to the back of the line. A majority of them would just start digging trenches in the shape of genitals that can be seen from space. Based on the power of Reddit and its track record, I may just go buy some shares in the Plastic Shovel Co. Hordes of people that pride themselves on their incompetence? They'd end up building a dam by accident. Most of us would be burned to death in seconds by the sun because we haven't been exposed to natural light in 10 years. All the British Redditors would be fined £5,000 for leaving the country. There is pretty much one reason. https giphy.com/gifs/weirdos-a69a9 I don't want to do this. A super spreader event the likes of which has not been seen so far. We'd all block each other. With 430 million people, it would be hard to coordinate. A bunch of people would drown and the ship would still be stuck. Success? We would simply fill in the canal. No canal equals no problem. We'd all be horrified we were in a potential social situation and rapidly bury our heads in the sand to avoid actual human interaction. We make a plan to dig a new canal that goes east, west. Then everyone argues and we actually dig one that goes up, down. At the top of our pics next week, there would be a picture of the Suez Canal completely filled in with the title, "We did it." Reddit. Quote. I can't speak for anybody else, but I'd likely get distracted by something shiny, fall into the canal, and get bitten by some critter under the surface of the water. The bite would get infected, and you'd all have to use those little shovels to bury me somewhere nearby. Reddit are people from all over the world, so likely a good deal of them would get shot. A political fight would break out over plastic shovels, and sand, and the weather. A handful of nerds would show up and do nothing like the Area 51 raid. There would be one guy shoveling and 6 million people telling them they're doing it wrong. We'd somehow build a second ship, collectively shake hands on a job well done, and probably spray paint Boaty McBoatface on one and Shippy McShipface on the other. I'm getting some serious Area 51 storming vibes from this idea. Would get the best memes. Ship still stuck, but memes would be awesome. We'd toss the shovels and start unloading those storage containers onto boats downstream. The main boat would rise as the weight decreased. And it would unstick itself. Then we all dance. Some playing in the sand, some being helpful, and a little drownings. Breaking news. A bunch of people with shovels are gathering at the Suez Canal. What they can do is create a human chain and unload all the shipping containers, lightening the ship so it can be dislodged. Now that is a plan. And then, of course, set up a swap meet and sell it all. Then use the profits to throw a huge celebration festival. Works for me. In theory, couldn't enough people get into the water such that it displaces enough water to raise the water level enough to get the boat unbeached? Bold of you to think Redditors would leave their homes. I would drown. Can't swim lol. And I'm scared of water. Give me a life jacket and I will help. We'd create a new strain of COVID and send countries into lockdown for another year. Oh. And this time there actually would be toilet paper and food shortages because we'd also managed to fuck up the Suez worse than it already is. If all of Reddit showed up anywhere there'd be a fight. Like 900 million fedora-wearing sweaties all discussing why glue doesn't stick to the inside of the bottle? Doesn't sound very productive. It would be the most foul-smelling place on Earth. Record-breaking levels of foul. Yo guys, let's do this for real y'all, it's gonna be legendary.